one morning, Peter opened the gate and went out on a... On the branch of a big tree sat a little bird, Peter's friend. "All is quiet," chirped the bird gaily. Soon a duck came waddling around. She was glad that Peter had not closed the gate and decided to take a nice swim in the deep pond in the meadow. Seeing the duck, the little bird flew down upon the grass, settled next to the duck, and shrugged her shoulders. "What kind of a bird are you if you can't fly?" she said. To this, the duck replied, "What kind of a bird are you if you can't swim?" and dived into the pond. They argued and argued, the duck swimming in the pond, the little bird hopping along the shore. Suddenly, something caught Peter's attention. He noticed a cat crawling through the grass. The cat thought, "The bird is busy arguing. I'll just grab her." Stealthily, she crept toward her on velvet paws. "Look out!" shouted Peter, and the bird immediately flew up into the tree. While the duck quacked angrily at the cat. From the middle of the pond. The cat crawled around the tree and thought, "Is it worth climbing up so high? By the time I get there, the bird will have flown away." Grandpa came out. He was angry because Peter had gone to the meadow. It is a dangerous place. If a wolf should come out of the forest, then what would you do? Peter paid no attention to Grandfather's words. Boys such as he are not afraid of wolves. But Grandfather took Peter by the hand, led him home, and locked the gate. No sooner had Peter gone than a big gray wolf came out of the forest. In a twinkling, the cat climbed up the tree. The duck quacked, and in her excitement, jumped out of the pond. But no matter how hard the duck tried to run, she couldn't escape the wolf. He was getting nearer, nearer, catching up with her. And then he got her, and with one gulp, swallowed her. And now, this is how things stood. The cat was sitting on one branch. The bird on another. Not too close to the cat. And the wolf walked around and around the tree, looking at them with greedy eyes. In the meantime, Peter, without the slightest fear, stood behind the closed gate, watching all that was going on. He ran home, took a strong rope, and climbed up the high stone wall. One of the branches of the tree around which the wolf was walking stretched out over the wall. Grabbing hold of the branch, Peter lightly climbed over onto the tree. Peter said to the bird, "Fly down and circle around the wolf's head, only take care he doesn't catch you." The bird almost touched the wolf's head with her wings, while the wolf snapped angrily at her from this side and that. How the bird did worry the wolf. How he wanted to catch her. But the bird was clever, and the wolf simply couldn't do anything about it. Meanwhile, Peter made a lasso, and carefully letting it down, caught the wolf by the tail and pulled with all his might. Feeling himself caught, the wolf began to jump wildly, trying to get loose. But Peter tied the other end of the rope to the tree, and the wolf's jumping only made the rope around his tail tighten. Just then, the hunters came out of the woods, following the wolf's trail and shooting as they went. But Peter, sitting in the tree, said, "Don't shoot. Bertie and I have already caught the wolf. Now help us take him to the zoo." And now, imagine the triumphal procession. Peter at the head, after him, the hunters leading the wolf. Winding up the procession, Grandfather and the cat. Grandfather tossed his head discontentedly. Well, and if Peter hadn't caught the wolf, what then? Above them flew Bertie, chirping merrily. My, what fine ones we are, Peter and I. Look what we have caught. And if one would listen very carefully, he could hear the duck quacking in the wolf's belly, because the wolf, in his hurry, had swallowed her alive.
Once upon a time, there was a beautiful young girl who lived with her cruel stepmother and two ugly stepsisters.
Cinderella!
From morning to night, they shouted to her to wait upon them. The sisters hated her because she was so beautiful and they were so ugly. They dressed her in rags and forced her to sweep and scrub and do all the heavy work in the house.
Cinderella! Cinderella!
The stepsisters had beautiful rooms of their own, but Cinderella had to sleep in the kitchen, huddled near the fireplace to keep warm. And because she awoke every morning covered with soot and cinders, they called her Cinderella.
Wake up, Cinderella!
But one day, great news came to the house. Hear ye, hear ye! His Majesty announces a grand ball at the royal palace. Every maiden in the kingdom is invited. The prince will choose the most beautiful maiden at the ball to be his bride. As soon as they heard this, the stepsisters began preparing for the ball. They called in tailors and jewelers and dressmakers and hairdressers and all went busily to work.
Old clothes, new clothes, stitch, stitch, so it goes. Stitch, stitch, is it clothes that can make a lady fair?
As they worked and sang, Cinderella had to hurry about and help all of them. But of course, she wanted to go to the ball too. And at last, she gathered up courage to ask. You go to the ball? Laughed the stepsisters. You, Cinderella, at the ball?
Stitch, stitch, so it goes. Dress in satin, comb your hair. Will it make a lady fair?
No!
Think of her dancing there in her rags, said the older stepsister. I'm the one the prince will choose, said the younger stepsister.
When they see me dancing at the ball, they will stop and stare, and the prince will call. The prince will ask me for my hand as the fairest one of all. Oh, I know you're sweet and I know you're fair, but remember, sister, that I'll be there. He'll turn from you when he sees me, and I, the queen, will be.
And now the sisters quite forgot Cinderella as they continued quarreling with each other.
You choose me! You choose me!
So it went on day after day until the very last minute.
I'll be queen! I'll be queen!
Oh, do stop it, shrieked the stepmother. Here, the coach is at the door. She hurried the two stepsisters out and they rode away to the ball. Ella sat all alone in the garden, crying sadly as she thought of the ball. At last, she fell asleep. As she slept, she heard fairy voices. Cinderella opened her eyes. Before her stood a sweet-faced old woman with a golden wand. Cinderella, she whispered. Cinderella, I am your fairy godmother. Do I have a fairy godmother? Asked Cinderella. Indeed, yes, said the fairy. But no questions now. We must hurry. She waved her wand, and instantly a host of fairies appeared. Quick, cried the fairy godmother. We must make Cinderella ready for the ball. First, a coach fit for a princess. Here, this yellow pumpkin will do. She waved her wand, and the pumpkin became a coach of glittering gold. And now the horses. She waved her wand again, and 4 mice scampering by became 4 milk-white steeds. And now a coachman and a footman. She touched the cat and dog with her wand, and there they stood. But her dress, cried the fairies. She can't go in these rags, and she needs slippers in which to dance.
How shall we dress a maiden so fair? Let the stars of midnight shine in her hair. Let the moonbeams weave her a gown, and the spinning fairy glass the slippers she will wear.
As the fairies sang, the fairy godmother touched Cinderella with the golden wand. Her rags became a gown of starlight and moonbeams. On Cinderella's feet gleamed 2 slippers of fairy glass. But remember, cried the fairy godmother, remember my magic lasts only until midnight. Before the clock strikes 12, you must leave the ball, or the coach will change to a pumpkin again, the horses to 4 field mice, the coachman and footman to a dog and a cat, and you will be in rags again. And now, off with you to the ball. When Cinderella arrived at the palace, the ball had already begun. All turned to Cinderella when she came in. So beautiful was she. The prince had been sitting alone, but when he saw Cinderella, he stepped down from his throne to ask her to dance. Away they whirled as though they would dance on forever.
Ever while the music is playing, you'll waltz me, and you'll still hear me say, now I own you, I will make you forever my queen.
Forever as the dream goes on, but at midnight the spell may be broken.
On and on they danced to the music. All wondered who the beautiful princess might be. And as the hours went by, Cinderella forgot the warning of her fairy godmother until suddenly the clock began to strike. The magic spell was over. She would be in rags again. Cinderella turned and ran down the length of the palace hall, through the door and down the palace stairs. As she fled, she dropped one of her glass slippers. At the foot of the stairs, no golden coach was waiting. Only a yellow pumpkin and a dog and a cat and 4 field mice scampering away. Of all her fairy godmother's magic, only 1 slipper remained. There stood Cinderella in rags again, with the slipper of glass in her hand. sent out messengers to find the beautiful princess with whom he had danced. The messengers visited all the cobblers in the land to see if anyone had ever made a glass slipper like the one Cinderella had left behind at the ball.
Oh, cobbler, tell me, have you ever made a shoe for a very pretty lad?
Tap, 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 tap. What a question. Tap, 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 tap. What a question.
Oh, cobblers, tell me, have you ever made a slipper like this of fairy glass?
Tap, 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 tap. What a question.
I make shoes of leather.
I make shoes of paper. I make shoes of wood, but not of glass. We never have. With all our skill, we never will. Tap, 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 tap.
When the prince's messengers found no cobbler who could make such a slipper, the prince set out himself. There's still one way to find her, he cried. Somewhere in the land is the maiden whose foot this slipper will fit. From house to house he went, until at last he came to the stepmother's house. The older sister tried on the glass slipper. It didn't fit. Then the younger sister tried on the slipper. It didn't fit her either. It must fit someone here, cried the stepmother. Try it on me. They pushed and squeezed. It didn't fit. Push harder, she cried. It didn't fit. Harder, harder, she cried. And the glass slipper broke in 100 pieces. Cinderella, she shrieked. Come here, sweep this up. Cinderella hurried in to sweep up the broken glass. As she kneeled down, the slipper she had saved from the ball fell from her pocket and lay shining on the carpet before the prince. It's the other glass slipper, cried the prince. Here, you try it on. You must be the princess I danced with at the ball. Cinderella tried on the slipper. It fit her foot perfectly. I have found you at last, cried the prince. I choose you for my queen. So the prince found Cinderella again. In the royal coach, she rode back with him to the palace. There they were married, and as king and queen, they lived happily ever after.